Okay, that's great, Jack. We're going to have a quick look at the app now. This is a piece of work with Cisco Disco. Can you kind of briefly just tell us what your expectations going into that piece of work and how it all kind of unfolded?
Yes, so this was a piece of work, I think it was in late spring, at which point Cisco Disco was ready for more intense exercise. So what we did, Ronan, was we brought 4 horses to Curra to work up the Old Vic Gallop over 6.5 furlongs, I think, which is about 1,300 meters to be precise. So the idea of this was to give the young horse an education as well as working at a quicker speed, which they will be doing in a race. So I set up the piece of work in such a way that Cisco Disco, who was probably the most inexperienced of the 4 horses in the work, would get an education. So what I asked the work rider Vanessa May to do in this instance was sit in behind a horse and just get him to travel and canter away at a pace that wasn't far off racing pace, and let them relax, breathe, settle. And then once they got to the final stage of the piece of work, let's say a quarter of a mile from the finish, for 2 furlongs, 400 meters, I asked Vanessa to gradually, in the horse's own time, just kind of get him to the point where he could go and join the lead horse. So what the idea of this was that Vanessa was teaching the young horse how to quicken up a little fraction and how to go and join the horse in front of him to try and really simulate what happened in a race. So Vanessa just sits in behind the lead horse for maybe half a mile, and then in the last quarter mile, I asked her to go and ask her horse to go and join the lead horse. So you'll see that.
And this is the bit that we have now. We can see this here. Vanessa's coming up the rail on the inside. The fastest furlong was 12.3 seconds. Your average furlong throughout the piece of work over the distance, as Jack was saying, is 13.7 seconds. Cisco Disco's top speed was 38 kilometers per hour with an average speed of 32.5 miles per hour. As we look here at the frame, we can see speed, we can see heart rate, we can see the number of strides per second, and we can see all of the individual fractions. I think it gives us a lovely little synopsis then in terms of the actual data. If we take Dundalk, say, a 6 furlong auction maiden as an example, to win a race like that, you'll probably want to do it in a minute and 13 seconds. What owners will now get is a breakdown of the training times that their horse is doing, and you can actually see whether that is a realistic figure for the horse to achieve. So on Cisco's times here, I know it's over a shorter distance and you'll probably end up being a 7 furlong horse or a miler. You can certainly see what he's clocking here, that he's well able to travel, as Jack was saying, and you can see in some stages that he's running within himself, and like that's good for us to see. And I think most importantly now, if you own a share in this horse and you're showing that to your buddies or to family members, we now have something more to talk about than just saying a horse is working well or it's progressing nicely. And I think it gives us a lovely sense of involvement.